welcome to Mini Money Mastermind with Myra, the Queen. Anyways, let's say your dad bought you a Lamborghini. Now, as everyone knows, Lamborghinis are expensive cars. So you go to him and ask him that how was he able to buy such an expensive car? He replies by saying that he had taken on some debt to buy that car. Now you get really confused and ask him and start picturing him to tell you, what is debt? Well, if this happened with you in real life and your dad couldn't explain you what is debt because he had to eat his breakfast, then don't worry, because today's topic is the same. Debt is the money owed by a person to another person. The person who owes the money is the borrower, and the person who owns the money is the lender. Another way you can say it is debt is an amount of money that is owed by a person for a certain period of time, and as the particular period of time ends, the person has to return the principal, which is the amount of money borrowed, along with the interest, which may vary with the money as it is a certain percentage of the principal. In simple words, debt is an amount of money owed by one party to another party, typically with an interest and a repayment schedule. In an ideal world, a perfect amount of debt is no debt. Now, this video is related to the videos that are in my playlist, General Knowledge of Money, in which I've explained the common words of day-to-day life, and you can cross-verify, as I'll give the playlist link of General Knowledge of Money in the description, and you can watch it by clicking on the link. Also, my all videos are available in the Hindi subtitles as well. Now, there are two types of debt, good debt and bad debt. Now, let's first talk about good debt. A debt is considered good if it has the potential to increase its value over time and enhance your life. A debt that is taken to plant the seeds of a business startup can also be considered as a good debt. Also, a debt can also be considered as good if the borrower has some plans to repay it in the future. For example, a mortgage or a student loan can be considered as a good debt, as it will lead to long-term financial health. However, it is important to maintain good debt properly and not make it an excess. Bad debt often has high interest rates and no clear plan for repayment. Bad debt can lead to financial stress, instability, and hardship, as it can be difficult to pay it off, and it can damage your credit score. For example, bad debt can include high levels of credit card debt, which can hurt your credit score. Also, a major mistake that people make with bad debt is postponing its repayment date. You know, postponing your debt's repayment date on your calendar will do only one thing. That is, lower your credit score. Ta-da! Let's celebrate! Now, postponing your debt's repayment date can be extremely devastating, as by delaying your debt repayment, it can lead to higher interest charges, additional interest charges and higher interest charges, which can lead to further increasing debt. Now, let's take a look at my calendar. Now, there is no debt to postpone, as I don't have any debt at all. So, what use is this calendar of? I should just throw it away like this. Ha! No use of cleansers for me. I don't have any debt in the first place. Aha! I'm free. Okay, now let's come back to the topic we were talking about. Wait, what was that? Oh, right. We were talking about postponing your debt repayment date. Now, another thing that can happen is that postponing your debt repayment date can also damage your credit score. If you see your debt repayment date as far off in the future, then you may be willing to spend more on your expenses. And on the day of repayments, you might have a shortage of money in paying off the debt. Sorry. Now, that's one of the things that can happen. And, postponing your debt repayment date can lead to financial stress and instability. Also, if you're the luckiest person in the world, then the thing that might happen with you is that you may forget about your debt repayment date as it is far off in the future. And then on the day of repayment, you might end up with no money to spend on that debt. And then you'll default on it, obviously. And defaulting on your debt is the worst thing that you can ever do. So, my dear son, promise me that you will never default on your debt and never forget to pay your debt and never postpone your debt repayment date. Promise me. That's a really good acting. So, all this time, I've talked about only one thing. That is the effects of postponing your debt repayment date. And from what it seems and what I told you about it, it seems like a really bad thing. Now let's have a cup of coffee and have a little chat about the differences between good debt and bad debt. So, now let's talk about good debt. Let's talk all about good debt, not bad debt right now. We're not comparing them. Yes, we will compare them, but I'm just gonna tell you first all about good debt, then second, all about bad debt. Okay? So now, good debt has the potential of increasing your net worth, like a mortgage debt. Let's take the example of a home loan. Now, if you are able to pay off the home loan, then the home will be entirely yours. Now it will no longer be the bank's to own, because now that you've paid off the debt, the papers will be transferred from the bank's name to your name. So, anyways, now that the home is yours, if it will appreciate in value, your net worth will appreciate in value, and so will your long-term financial health. Now, another example is a student loan. If a parent takes on a student loan for his or her child, then after that, once the child grows and receives the education, the child will get better education and have better opportunities of job, making a long-term financial help. Making the child have a long-term financially healthy life. Yeah, that's a great one. So now, the second thing that good debt can do is increase your business's net worth. Now, let's take the example of a business loan for business startup or business expansion. Now, if your business is successful and can generate returns, a good ROI, by that I mean a good return on investment, then it is considered a good debt, as you will be able to repay your debt and earn a profit at the same time. Ta-da! Now, another quality that good debt possesses is that it has a future value. Yeah, you could say that. It has a future value. Meaning that good debt, like I just gave you the example of home loan and business loan, so that home or business will have a future value, which most likely, if you're lucky, will be more than the present value. And then you will get a profit. Another quality that good debt possesses is that, more like not a quality but an action that it does, is that it is used to acquire investments. And most likely, the investments will give you good ROIs. Another fact about good debt is that it can generate returns, and those returns will be used or can be used to pay off the debt, along with earning you maybe a small or a huge amount of profit. Now you might find a change in the color of my beautiful skin. Well, that's just due to the sun which is setting, and I had to turn on the light because of the dim amount of light. So anyways, where were we? Oh yes, talking about good debt. So, good debt's interest is tax deductible. For example, a home loan. Now, a person who is borrowing some money for buying a home, or a person who takes on a home loan, will have a tax rebate on the interest that they will pay, which means that they will get a kind of refund of tax on the interest that they'll pay. Now, last of all, good debt's interest is typically lower in comparison to bad debt's interest, as it invests in something that you believe will grow over time. For example, house, a business, or even education, etc., etc. And also, the good debt will last through your credit history. Now let's talk about bad debt. Now, bad debt most of the times has no proof about it. For example, credit card debt. Now, credit card debt, what is that? You might not know about credit card debt, though the term is used very often. So, credit card debt is used when you do not have enough money to afford your purchases, and then you have to repay it with a very high interest. It is often difficult to pay off credit card debt, so it is important to pay it off as soon as possible. Now, the second thing that I'm going to tell you about bad debt is that it does not add to your business's net worth. Like, it is a consumer loan. That is what I'm trying to say. And another thing that I'm going to tell you is that most of the times, the item on which a bad debt is spent on is most of the times depreciating or finishing in value. For example, a car loan or a personal vehicle loan can be taken as bad debt, because as you pay off your car loan debt, then that car will depreciate in value. It will rust, its wheels will get punctured, and so it's not much of an asset, it's more like a liability, like an asset which is depreciating. So, bad debt is also the car loan debt, the vehicle debt. It is spent on an item that will depreciate in value or finish. Also, bad debt does not flow any income to your cash flow. It is not an income stream. Also, it is personal and unsecured debt. Interest and debt, both of them, must be paid in your personal, from your personal after-tax income. For being in the safer side, you should try eliminating bad debt as quickly as possible, as soon as possible, as quickly as possible, as fastly as possible, though fastly is no word. So anything you might call it, but you should try eliminating bad debt as soon as possible. That's the phrase which I use the most. Now, like overall, we can see that bad debt has higher interest rates according to good debt, and also it invests in something that will not grow in the future and is not within your budget and can damage your credit score. So that's all for bad debt now. Bad debts thing, all finished. So now you can compare bad debt and good debt properly, and you've also got some pinpoints of good debt and bad debt. You must have understood that basically what do they mean? Now let's quickly summarize what we've learned. Good debt is a particular amount of money that is borrowed to generate returns and make profits. Overall, good debt is a significant amount of money that is borrowed to generate good return on investments and increase one's wealth rather than financing goods and services for immediate consumption. Still, it's vital for maintaining your debt properly, even though if it's good. Bad debt is a debt that is taken on for financing purchases of a consumer for immediate consumption if he or she is not able to afford it. Overall, bad debt is debt that is taken on for financing immediate expenses that do not generate any return. It is important and vital to avoid bad debt and manage your debt properly and responsibly. Thank you for tuning into my channel, Mini Money Mastermind with Mahira, as I told you, who's not the queen but the empress. Okay, I hope you found the information helpful in your journey to financial success. Don't forget to hit that like button and share my videos with your friends and your family so that they also can benefit from my content. I appreciate your support and can't wait to continue bringing you more informative and actionable finance-related content. Until next time, happy money management. Now today's quote is just another quote of the famed late President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. As I had told you in one of my earlier videos, there will be lots of quotes of his gonna come up in my later videos. This one is just one of them. So the quote is that if you salute your duty, you will not need to salute anybody else. But if you pollute your duty, then you have to salute everybody else. Nice words. I really like them. And before I go, let me again remind you to subscribe my channel and like this video if you haven't done both of those things yet. So, thanks. Goodbye.